On today's Locked On Senators, Rivalry Week begins. The Senators are in Toronto for the second edition of this season's Battle of Ontario.
We'll have a full game preview for you, including our lookout players, locked on players, and keys to victory.
And it's not only Toronto, big weekend coming up for both Ottawa and Belleville. It's all brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn and get started today. This is the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 723 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today is Friday, January 27th, and Pillsy, I woke up hating the Toronto Maple Leafs today.
So, same as every day, or what's different about that?
Well, you know what? When we play Pittsburgh, I realize how much I hate them.
Yeah.
But days like today make me think, you know what? They're not that bad. They're not the Leafs.
It's true, because, it's not like we have an abundance of Pittsburgh fans in our area or on our Twitter feeds or friends and family that are Pittsburgh fans. When it's the Leafs, it all comes together, and there's no mistake that the Sens and Leafs are playing tonight because everyone in Ontario, there's a buzz going around. And throw out the standings when these two teams play, Ross, because although the Toronto Maple Leafs have had the Sens number a little bit lately, we will never forget it was 5-1 game. And that we can hold on to, that no matter how bad it gets, it's never truly over.
Well, or the fact that the Senators dominated Toronto in the Mike Babcock era. But I was on with Mike DiStefano and Dave Morasuti, Locked On Leafs, are good buddies, Bloods, yep. Crips, with their bandanas tied across together, friends, believe it or not, good guys. I used to work with Mike, Al's brother, at TSN 1050, and I was talking to them about the Senators' struggles when they're trailing after two periods, right? 8-111. That's tough in itself, but then I waited, dramatic pause. Nice. But you know what one of the wins was, right? So had some fun with them there. Definitely go check that out. Great conversation, including a very good topic that I will save for that. Actually, you know what? I'll throw it to you too. Ooh. Claude Giroux, John Tavares. Who has had the better career so far?
I mean, if you're asking who has had the better career, I'd have to look at both their numbers. If the question is who would you rather have, I've got an answer loaded for you.
Well, especially when you take into account their salaries. But no, I think it's close in terms of career because John Tavares has the goal scoring, right? He had a 47-goal season. Giroux's never touched that. But Giroux's top 2 point producing seasons would both be Tavares' number one. Tavares has never hit 90 points, let alone 100. True. Giroux hit 102. Both of them, their highest MVP finish, third. So they're both tied there. Giroux has obviously more playoff success going to the final in 2010. He's played 95 playoff games. Tavares played 44 and hasn't been out of the first round more than once in his career. But how much can you blame just him for that versus his surroundings? I mean, he's in Toronto, and the Islanders are, the Islanders. They beat Florida the one round they beat with like a 42-year-old Roberto Luongo in that.
What's their difference in face-off percentage?
Giroux's at 60% in his career, and Tavares is 55% in his career.
Damn. So both pretty good, but Giroux still has that edge.
Yeah. Anyways, fun conversation. We get into that with them. But what are you most looking forward to? We mentioned it hasn't gone Ottawa's way. The last 4 battles of Ontario, all in the Leafs' favor. But can we throw out that 6-0 loss? Because, I mean, that was New Year's Day. Just bad game overall. That was brutal.
That was Matt Murray in net for your Ottawa Senators.
You said it. We still don't know who's starting in goal tonight. But other than that, they're always close games. Heck, we were at the last game the Sens beat the Leafs, Pillsy, opening night of last season. a 3-2 win for your Ottawa Senators. They got out to a 3-0 lead.
Yep.
Toronto fought back. They scored twice, make it close. Kind of like what Ottawa did in the first game they met this season. Second game after Ottawa was in Buffalo. Toronto scored first, Ottawa tied it. Toronto scored again. Ottawa tied it with under 5 minutes left. And then that bad defensive play where I think Pinto and Batherson got mixed up in the right side. And Justin Hall scores the game winner with under 2 minutes remaining in regulation. That was the backbreaker because you're like, hey, they come home with 1 point at least. That would be nice. They come home with none. They still beat Boston and go on to win 4 straight at home. But I just look at that, and then you look at Justin Hall. Pilsy, I looked it up. That's half the total goals Justin Hall scored this year. He's got 2 goals in 47 games.
Yeah, that was so disappointing because the Sens were right there. We did not want them to go 0-2 to start the season, but
and Giroux's celly on that tying goal.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's tough that they weren't able to pull that one out. Hello to everyone hate watching this. I know that Leafs fans,
Leafs Nation.
Yeah, they do not like at Sens Central on Twitter. Come at me today. I'm ready. I'm excited for this one. But that's what it's all about when it comes to rivalry games. And like you said, Toronto, of course, has the lead in the standings. Regular season heroes in Toronto the last 6 seasons.
Congrats.
Yep, exactly. So we'll see come April. I wonder which former Senator will end their season this year after Nick Paul had 2 goals in round 1 last year. Maybe Nick Paul again because it looks like
I was going to say. It looks like that's going to be the case, Ross. Another round 1 matchup between Tampa and Toronto, which, hey, I'm so down for it. Like that, regardless of whether you're a Leafs fan, Lightning fan, or a Leafs hater, that was just amazing hockey. Like that was must-watch television, and I didn't have any skin in the game other than I absolutely loathe the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, I was all over Tampa Futures.
Oh, big time. Well, Ross, remember, go back and listen to our episodes. I did about a 5-minute rant saying how much I hate the Leafs and how much they suck and they're never going to win this series. And after, I remember talking to you being like, maybe I pushed it a little bit far. Like I was really, really pushing the nail in the coffin there. And I got a little nervous. I didn't have to sweat too bad, though, because Nick Paul, he does it all.
Does it all. Nick Paul, the Mississauga Senator. Growing up, and then he comes and puts the final nail in the 2021-22 Leafs coffin. Coming up, we're going to discuss the lines for Ottawa and Toronto. Still no word on starting goalie, but okay, I'm not pulling up the graphic, but everyone knows the graphic that I'm talking about. Yes. The Sens struggle against their former goalies, but I'm going to ask Pilsy, would you rather Matt Murray or Ilya Samsonov, who is 14?
This is an easy question.
14-0-1 with a .936 save percentage on home ice. Stay tuned to Locked On Senators right after this.
And today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, the presenting sponsor for this episode. They are our newest sponsor, the official sportsbook partner for the Locked On Podcast Network, because they're the #1 sportsbook in America. It's FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, hey, that's even better, guys, because they have so many features you're going to love, including this. Ross, you know what I love? A little bit of free bet money guaranteed, and not just a little bit, actually, $150 when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all your favorite bets, from money lines to point spread to player props. There's anything you can do, and you can even combine your bets for a bigger chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. Ross, for tonight's matchup, there is one bet I'm looking at, and I'm going to hammer.
High glove on Matt Murray?
Well, we don't know the starting goalie yet, but we should talk to FanDuel. Can we get goal location props going here? We'll talk to our friends over there. But no, that's not the one I'm talking about, Ross. I'm talking about the over. I think, like, whenever these two teams play, whether it's in the NHL or the AHL, goals are scored. And both these teams have top-heavy offenses and not the best defenses, and depending on who's in net, not the best goaltending either. So I'm looking at the over tonight because this is going to be a great battle. So Don't miss out. Place $5 to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. We love our friends over at the Glebe Central Pub in the heart of the Glebe, 779 Bank Street, and make sure you let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. Not only do they have a great menu, great food, wing night every Monday, excuse you, let me in on those wings. And how about open mic nights, trivia nights, live music? It's all going down at the Glebe Central Pub. It's great people, great food, great drinks in a neighborhood atmosphere. You really can't beat it. Oh, wait, you can. How about adding a Sens Shuttle to the mix? To and from each Ottawa Senators game for the low price of $15 round trip. You can't even get to the Queensway from the Glebe for less than $15 in a taxi. So take the Glebe Central Pub Shuttle and make your trips to and from the CTC stress-free, worry-free, and you drop back off right at the Glebe Central Pub. Stay tuned for ticket details for our live show coming up at the Glebe Central Pub. Live show ahead of the Chris Neil jersey retirement game. We are so fired up to share our love with the Glebe Central Pub with you at the Glebe Central Pub, February 17th. Make sure you're there February 17th at the Glebe Central Pub, 779 Bank Street. And when you head to the Glebe Central Pub, whether it's tonight, Pride Night down at Lansdowne, excited for that. The London Knights, Oliver Bonk is coming to town. Why not stop by the Glebe Central Pub? We know our buddy Nick Spence will be there, and you can too. Check them out, 779 Bank Street, and make sure you let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. All right, Pillsy. Hockey night in Canada, kinda? I mean, it's a CBC Sportsnet game, but it's Friday. Why is it Friday?
I'll take it. Hockey night in Ontario. Let's go.
Hey, every Friday, hockey night in Ontario. No, it's weird. 7 o'clock puck drop, but Friday? Friday? Hey, nothing wrong with that, though. It's the start of a weekend, a busy weekend for the Ottawa Senators. Not only tonight in Toronto, they'll come home tomorrow and face the Montreal Canadiens. Not only that, it's a head-to-head home and home with the Montreal Canadiens coming up. They'll play at the Bell Center on Tuesday, right before 10 days off. 10 days off. Can you believe it? I'm ready for it, though. Regroup, get these kids some rest.
Yeah.
Especially the young players. Like we talked about Jake Sanderson yesterday, and you can go back and listen to that if you want to get into what he could be as a rookie Senator all time. But they've already played more games than they ever have in a college career. So I think this break will be important for them, but not before 3 games with high intensity. And who better to have in the lineup than Ridley Gregg for this type of game? Now, yesterday in that cosign, no sign game on Locked On Leafs, Dave Morassutti asked me, are we going to see Ridley Gregg score his first NHL goal tonight? I said, you know what? I'll close my eyes. I'll be a delusional fanboy. I'll dream. I'll say sure. But what I did say is, you know what I'm actually confident about? He's going to be in the mix physically today. He's going to be poking and prodding after the whistle. It was at the Scotiabank Arena where he and Kyle Clifford got into his fight.
Yep,
and you know what David told me? Kyle Clifford fractured his hand on Ridley Gregg's face in that fight.
Wow. I don't think Ridley Gregg had a fractured jaw or anything.
No, he's got to be built like steel. So I don't know if that word's going to reverberate through the Toronto Maple Leafs dressing room. But Ridley Gregg's ready. He's not too. This moment isn't too big for him. He'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I'm not so sure he'll get a goal up against Toronto, Ross, but I will say this. I'm feeling pretty good he'll score up against Montreal in either the Saturday game or the Tuesday game. So look out for that. But yes, I do want to see him in the mix. And it's just great that we have kind of a shiny new toy to latch onto here because verbal meme, the Senators fans are Andy and every Sens player is Woody and he's throwing them away like, I'm done with you, like I want a new toy. So Ridley Gregg is the new Buzz Lightyear toy we get to hang out with here.
All right, the Sens skate at 11:30 this morning. We're recording a little bit earlier on due to scheduling and the Senators lines we expect, though. Hey, don't change the winning lineup, eh? They're 3-1 win against the New York Islanders. We're expecting it to be Tim Stützle at center on the top line between Brady Tkachuk and Mathieu Joseph. Ridley Gregg between Alex DeBrincat and Claude Giroux. Shane Pinto between Derek Brassard and Drake Batherson. And then Dylan Gambrell between Parker Kelly and Austin Watson. The one caveat here is if Mark Kastelik is healthy enough, I believe he'll slot in for Dylan Gambrell on that fourth line. On defense, Thomas Chabot with Nick Holden, Jake Sanderson with Travis Hamonic, and Eric Brandstrom with Nikita Zaitsev. Anton Forsberg will start in goal. He's 8-10-2 on the season with a .330 goals against average and a .901 save percentage. It's game 48 for the Ottawa Senators tonight. And Pilsy, one note that I want to make. I like this coaching from DJ Smith. He was asked, why was Drake Batherson moving around the lineup, right? He was put with Pinto, and for the most part, that's where he played. But when Mathieu Joseph kills penalties, what he would do, and he explained this post-game, is he didn't want Drake sitting on the bench for 4 minutes, right? That's not going to help him get his feet moving and play the way DJ wants him to play, being physical on the forecheck. Yep. So what he would do is after Joseph would kill a penalty, then for the next shift, he would put Stützle Tkachuk with Batherson and get that offensive go. He also said for offensive zone faceoffs, he would try to get Batherson out there with Stützle and Tkachuk. Do you think that latter thought process is taking away from potential chemistry, having Joseph out there? Or do you like the more offensive situations? Hey, let's put our best offensive players out there.
I like it. I mean, I think as a coach, especially DJ Smith, where this team is at, you got to get creative here. You can't just be like, these are our lines. We're rolling them out. We'll see what happens. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You can't be doing that. Like, this team needs to try to create different ways to create offense and play better defensively and just try to manage these guys' minutes appropriately. So I think that's a great way to try to be as efficient as possible here.
Who are you locked on to for the Ottawa Senators tonight?
Well, Ross, we talked about it before we hopped on here, and it's a guy that's been struggling since 2023 has started, Ross. Alex DeBrincat, only 3 points in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games. So 3 points in his last 11 games here since the new year has started.
And a goal and an assist came against Arizona. So put a little asterisk there.
Yeah, the old Arizona asterisk. So this is a guy that, look, I know he's still been producing points. I know he's been playing kind of a better defensive all-around game than he usually is, but this is a contract year. He's a $9 million guy who's scored 40-plus goals twice already in his young career. He's got to get going. He's like, I can't think of too many times, if any, Ross, where he's just come down the wing and sniped one. And you're like, oh, man, that's why it's so nice to have the cat here. Like, it's usually good offensive plays, 2-on-1s, rebounds at the side of the net, those kinds of things that he's scoring. Like, that shot doesn't look elite like we thought it was. And he doesn't have the confidence to shoot. Like, I forget which game it was, Ross, but both of us made a note. He was on a 2-on-1, and he did everything possible to pass that puck. He even turned his body fully to pass, and both of us had the same note. Like, don't you want Alex DeBrincat to be shooting there? Like, why isn't he even considering taking a shot? So he needs to get that confidence back, and I want to see him just rip one high glove on a certain Maple Leafs goalie here.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Alex DeBrincat in his career against the Toronto Maple Leafs has 3 goals and 7 points in 9 games. So let's get him up to a point per game. How about 3 points for Alex DeBrincat tonight?
Let's do it. I'm in.
Yeah, you down? I'm down. Let's do it.
Check out the prop odds at FanDuel.com, everyone.
You can certainly do that. I'm going to go with Brady Tkachuk because when the Battle of Ontario happens, there's going to be a bit of chippiness. There's going to be high energy. And there's nobody you want on your side of the battle more than Brady Tkachuk. Brady Tkachuk is on a bit of a downturn here, right? No points in his last 2 games after such an elite week last, right? He had a career-high 4 points last Wednesday against Pittsburgh, scored again in the tough showing in Pittsburgh, but got frustrated against Winnipeg, right? He got that misconduct at the end of the game. He's going to be looking to get back, right? He hasn't gone 2 games without a point in 2023. His last 2 games without point where the Boston win in a shootout and then at Washington the next game. Hasn't gone 2 games without a point since, and I don't see it extending beyond those 2 so far. I'm going to be locked on to Brady Tkachuk. I think he's in for a big game tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Right? They admittedly play a small scale game. Did you see? I think it was Marner that got absolutely smoked and nobody did anything about it. Everyone's just standing around looking for pennies on the ground. Nobody wants to make eye contact. That's Toronto Maple Leafs hockey, baby. And Brady, you can't play that when Brady Tkachuk's out on the ice. So I want him to be his prickly self. You know what? I'm going to bunch in, like Brady's the leader, but I'm going to bunch in Parker Kelly. I'm going to bunch in Ridley Gregg with that as well. I want the Sens to just be so annoying tonight. I want Twitter to light up, right? We haven't heard a single thing about Tim Stützle diving this year. I don't think it's even been a thought. Right?
I mean, they've only played the Habs, once? So that's usually when that conversation comes up.
Right, but it just shows that it's not a league-wide thing. It's this little narrative that Habs and Leaf fans even, because remember there was that play where he got hooked by Nylander, but he also went down a little easy? Or no, he was going off for a change, and it looked like he was kind of bouncing off them, right? There was that huge hoopla, and everyone found that Sens Central on Twitter and gave me a beat down for it. I didn't dive though. I hung in there. Evander Holyfield just took it, punch after punch after punch after punch. But
or Austin Watson, you could use that as a similar reference there.
In there like Austin Watson. But when it comes to Timmy, I would like to see some narratives come out of this game because Leaf fans can't help themselves, and it would make it for a nice night online. But that all aside, locked on to those gritty players on the Ottawa Senators. I want to see them at their most annoying tonight.
Agreed. And Ross, Brady Tkachuk had a flat game up against the Islanders. Like, it's not very often I'm disappointed in his effort and his game. I was pretty disappointed at that Brady Tkachuk effort.
Not mad, just disappointed?
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't mad. I was just disappointed. I mean, mind you, I had a couple shekels on FanDuel for his over shots, and that did not hit. So that causes disappointment, but still.
Big news coming out of Toronto Maple Leafs morning skate. Big news, Pilsy. That's all next on Locked On Senators. Today's episode is brought to you by Shawarma Palace. We love our friends at Shawarma Palace. You can find them all over Ottawa. Legitimately. They have 9 different locations and soon to be 10. They will be opening a Shawarma Palace in the Saint Laurent Shopping Center Mall. Wow, that's huge because that's one area of the city you couldn't have found a Shawarma Palace, but they're everywhere else. You can find them in Orleans. You can find them on Bank Street by Baseball Town. You can find them on Rideau by Augusta. That's my favorite shop. That's where you'll find us in exactly 3 weeks' time. We are exactly 3 weeks away, by the way, from the Chris Neil retirement game. And our friends at Shawarma Palace are going to be giving away tickets to the Calgary game as well earlier that week, Monday, February 13th. Stay tuned on social media at Sens Central and find out when you can get qualified to enter to win those tickets. But Shawarma Palace, what more can we say about Shawarma Palace? The best food in the world. They've got the best platters, the best size, portion, quality, you name it, they got it at Shawarma Palace. If you go in, you ask for the Locked On special, they better be giving you 2 sides, extra garlic, because that's how I eat my shawarma, and Pilsy does too. Pilsy's a big wrap guy. They get the perfect amount of toastiness on their pita. You just can't beat them. Fresh ingredients, great people, support local. It's all at Shawarma Palace. Ottawa's premier shawarma. Game days taste better at Shawarma Palace. Go get one today at any of their 9 locations. It's Shawarma Palace. All right, Pilsy. Game day. The Sens are in Toronto to take on the Maple Leafs. Everyone in the heart of enemy territory in downtown Toronto. I need to see those boots on the ground pictures tonight at Sens Central. Need boots on the ground in the heart of enemy territory. Pilsy, did you see the news?
I did. You go ahead and announce it, though.
The Toronto Maple Leafs will be without Auston Matthews, not only tonight, but for a minimum of the next 3 weeks. Of course, nobody cheers for injuries. We hope Auston does well and recovers. But that That dude is a Sens killer.
Big time. I mean, his first ever NHL game. My God.
I want to say that he has, and Stats Muse is kind of bothering me. It's usually a pretty good site, but they completely missed on a stat that I asked for yesterday. So I don't know how much versus Ottawa. Most all-time points versus the Ottawa Senators.
Oh, no.
Okay? He's climbing that list extremely quickly, but he's not there yet. You know, Jaromir Jagr had 90 points in 79 games against the Ottawa Senators. But Auston Matthews, he's not there yet. But basically, what this guy's doing against Ottawa is tough to replicate. In 27 games against Ottawa, 23 goals and 41 points.
Oh my God, that's insane. So yes, I will also echo Ross's statement. We do not cheer for injuries. We're not stoked about this or going crazy because Leafs Nation, I know you guys are watching. Hello. They would be all over that. Like, wow, these Sens fans are cheering for injuries, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not what we're saying. But it does make Ottawa's chances significantly better not having a guy that absolutely dominates this team. So that's an interesting piece of news, especially, Ross. How is that going to change how this Toronto Maple Leafs lineup looks tonight?
And how will it change the All-Star game? Could Tim Stützle find his way to the All-Star game?
No, I already, we talked about this in our chat with Leems Marsh and Ross. You know what's going to happen here. It's going to be William Nylander that replaces him.
Willie Nylander, eh? Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I should probably edit this before I put it up, but you know what? I've already got it locked and loaded. We can just walk you through this because Toronto Maple Leafs lineup tonight will not have Auston Matthews as the top line center. So we're still awaiting that. They did not have line rushes at morning skate today, but we know Bunting and Marner are the two top line wingers. I assume that will stay the same. Beyond that, this is all best guess because when you lose your number one center, things change. It's going to be John Tavares between Kalle Järnkrok and William Nylander. The third line is David Kampf with Bobby McCann and Pierre Engvall. And the fourth line is Holmberg between Alex Kerfoot and Joey Anderson. On defense, Morgan Riley with Justin Hall, Mark Giordano with Timothy Liljegren, and Rasmus Sandin with Jordy Ben. In goal, still no confirmation whether it's Ilya Samsonov or Matt Murray. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs are 19-3-4 at home this year, 30-11-8 overall, with 7 wins in their last 10 games. Their top scorer, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, both tied with 57 points in 49 games. Who's your lookout player tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Ross, this pains me, but my lookout player is going to be Mitch Marner.
Oh my God.
I mean, with no Matthews, and sure, William Nylander's having an amazing season, but Mitch Marner is the guy that drives this offense.
I don't even know what he's thinking. He's just a complete brickhead. He's got nothing up there. Just bad guy, bad player, but what a joke he is.
That's you picking Mitch Marner.
That is me picking Mitch Marner. There is not one single player in the NHL that I have more disdain for, that I loathe more, that I hate more than Mitch Marner.
And is this because he tied his skates in the middle of a game against Ottawa?
That is a big reason. I will never forget that. He's such a whiny little baby. He is. You want to talk about diving? Forget the tanning goggles, Ross. Get the swim goggles out for Mitch Marner. I don't like the way he plays. I know Leafs fans will say he has more points than anyone on the Senators. He finished 4th in the league a couple years ago, et cetera, et cetera. He kills penalties. Yes, I know. I get it. But I really can't stand him, is all I'm going to say. And having said that, he's pretty damn good, and it's impossible to miss him out there. And you read off the stats. He has 57 points in 49 games. I mean, it's incredible. Like, even on the penalty kill, this guy is a threat. So, unfortunately, I will be looking out for Mitch Marner in this game.
Yeah, so will I. Oh, man, that sucks. I was going to do Auston Matthews. That's why I had his stats all lined up there. But I'm going to take a spin down to the second line. And the most polarizing Maple Leaf, William Nylander. ironically, probably provides the most value for his contract out of any of their highly paid players. This guy,
Easily, Ross. He easily does. Yeah.
so smooth, man. He is an extremely fun player to watch. Obviously, when the heat gets turned up, he's nowhere to be seen at times, but he's also a contributing factor all the time. 10 points in his last 5 games, Pilsy, including a 4-point effort against the New York Islanders. He's got how many multi-point games this year? It's actually absurd. I guess just 14. I mean, Claude Giroux's at 13 as well, but he's got a 5-point game and a 4-point game mixed in there as well. Like, this guy, he comes to play. He's got a great shot, great hands, great vision. Big reason why Toronto is having success this year. I'm going to say he gets to a point per game this year. Has yet to accomplish that in his NHL career. Got close, 80 points in 81 games last year, but right now
Wow.
he's on a crash course to smash that career high in points. Last game, he got his 400th career NHL point, and today is game 489 for him. Should note that his centerman, John Tavares, is playing in game number 999 in tonight's game. So he'll hit that 1,000-game milestone on Sunday when they play the Washington Capitals. But I'm going to be looking out for William Nylander. I think he's slippery. And you know what? He even played a little bit of center. I think last year when they were in a pickle. I wonder if he slides into the middle for a couple of shifts there if they need a goal to play with Marner.
Maybe. I kind of thought what they would do is they would bump Kerfoot back to the middle. I know he had played there a while, and then you just get someone else as a fourth-line winger. But we'll see what happens here. The real question, though, Ross, is who's going to play in goal. And to answer your question, who I would rather see, give me Matt Murray. I want him. I want it because, Ross, like you said, this season we're going down the toilet bowl. We're still getting flushed here. It's a lost season yet again for the Ottawa Senators. Yes, Leafs fans, you're going to love hearing me say that. But all I want is good storylines. A storyline is Matt Murray playing up against the Sens for the first time since being traded. And this team can score on Matt Murray. I'm very confident in that. So if they get Matt Murray, I will be happy because at least it creates a juicy, anytime the Battle of Ontario is juicy no matter what, but at least it creates a little bit more squeeze to that juice.
Should we finish off today's show discussing all the things that are better about Ottawa than Toronto?
Yeah, sure. Go. I'll let you lead this as someone who's lived in both cities.
Shawarma.
Oh my! Well, obviously, yeah. The shawarma in Ottawa is miles better.
In Toronto, they use liquid garlic sauce. Are you nuts? Smear that on. Why is it so thin? Like,
terrible.
you water it down? Is the population that big to feed people? You got to water down your garlic sauce?
And then the issue with that, Ross, is that watered down garlic sauce, it drips through your wrap, and then you just made a mess there. Not at the Palace.
Nothing worse than Toronto shawarma. It's such a stain on the economy. My goodness. Come to Ottawa.
The economy.
Get a real shawarma, India. How about some parks downtown? Some green space downtown? Nothing better than that. Can't find it in the concrete jungle that is Toronto. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, you know what? If you're a Sens fan stuck in the heart of enemy territory today, no free ads. Go to Farm Boy. Go to Kettleman's. Support your Ottawa companies that have transitioned over to Toronto.
Kettleman's in Toronto?
Yeah, there's multiple now.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. So you can go check that out if you're on the wrong side of the 401. Anything else you want to get to today, Pilsy? I will note that my Tim Stützle of the All-Star Game campaign has come to an abrupt end. Alex Barkov will replace Auston Matthews.
Actually, that's smart. I was actually hoping for that. It's in Florida. Barkov is an incredible player. You got to give the Panthers a little more shine there. So that's the correct move. I'm glad that's
live look at Leafs Nation when William Nylander was not the replacement.
I was wondering when we were going to toss this up here.
Oh, boy. This is why you watch on YouTube. This photo, this Mona Lisa, we haven't had up in a little while. It's about time.
Yeah,
That's
looks good.
You learn something new every time you see it. You know, they say that about great TV shows. Like, oh, I rewatched it, but I learned something different this time. I watched it in a different perspective. I get that from this photo.
I mean, Toronto Maple Leafs hockey is great reality TV. It's a comedy mixed in with a tragedy.
Oh, that's what sports are all about. Looking forward to tonight's game, Pilsy. Any final thoughts from you? I have mine after, but what are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts is I haven't done this in a while, Ross, but my final thoughts are going to be Go Sens, go. Let's
Oh!
go. I mean, you guys know how I feel about this season, but these are the games. I want the storyline games. I want to send Leafs fans home sad. I would love to win this game. So let's get a Go Sens go today, guys.
Go Sens, go. Let us know that in the chat. My final thoughts, it's just more of a scheduling thing. Tonight, the postcast will be live at 10:15 Eastern. Usually, the 7 o'clock games end a little bit earlier. I get off the clock at 10. It's going to be Pillsy and I, 10:15 tonight, postcast, Sens, Leafs, Battle of Ontario. Doesn't get any better than this. Leaf fans, if you're still hate watching this, follow us on Twitter at Sens Central. Send me your mean tweets. I'm all about it. Let's go. Get the heat going. It's rivalry week for the Ottawa Senators, and this is a little battle that we can win in a war that we have no chance for the rest.
Yeah,
This battle, this is a week. You get through Toronto tonight. You go to Montreal. You go home to play Montreal tomorrow, and who knows from there. But we can have some fun here tonight at Scotiabank Arena. Again, if you are boots on the ground in the heart of enemy territory, we need photos at Sens Central. You can also follow the show on Instagram, lockedon.senators, and TikTok, I think, at Sens Central. I don't even know what our TikTok handle is, but we'll post our 3 things to watch video there coming up a little bit later today. But for today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan, and this has been the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.